What's happening, everybody? Welcome in once again to the voice of Camp Nathanael. Stephen Bell coming at you on the campus of Camp Nathanael. And with me, as always, on this first day of May is the Higgledy-Piggledy. Higgledy-Piggledy.
This is Lee Sharp.
That's Lee Sharp. That's right. Now, have you at least heard that one before?
What nursery rhyme did you rip that?
It does sound like a nursery rhyme, doesn't it?
Feels like you went to a children's book and ripped the first page out.
No, it's called ChatGPT, my friend. And so, Higgledy-Piggledy. Yes, it sounds like a nursery rhyme. It sounds something like you just got Dr. Seuss or something like that.
Something along those lines.
It means, let's see if I'm reading the right definition here, in a disorganized or chaotic state.
That feels accurate.
I'm
not even going to argue against that.
Right.
That feels exactly on the spot there.
It's the sentence that it gives you to as an example says the kitchen looks like a higgledy-piggledy mess after dinner. That just sounds hard.
Higgledy-piggledy.
That sounds hard. Like. It sounds hard to clean up is what it sounds like, you know?
It does.
Wow. Hey, you heard a third voice right there. It's not just me and Lee in here today.
We've got a guest.
We do have a guest, and we're excited because he's here speaking at the marriage retreat this weekend as we're recording this. Please welcome Mr. Spencer Breedlove. How's it going, man?
It's going great.
I just want to point something out right now. All right? We didn't discuss this before we came on the air.
Okay.
But the fact that we have someone called Breedlove speaking at the marriage retreat,
isn't that amazing?
It just markets itself at that point.
It really does. I mean, it's beautiful.
It is, man. It works out so well.
Yeah, my mom used to have a phrase that she would communicate to friends and people that she would like. She even had this printed on her business card. She said, "We are the breed that loves you."
That was printed on a business card.
It's printed on the business card. It's not printed on my card.
Okay, I got you.
It is not printed on my card.
Oh man. Well, hey, listen, we're gonna take about, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes or so and just kind of chit chat about how you came about to be involved here at Camp Nathanael, because this isn't your first go around here at camp. You've been here numerous times, and so I'm gonna kind of turn this over to Lee a little bit to kind of guide us through our question time and find out a little bit more about your story and what you're doing here at camp this weekend, what we're talking about, and yeah, man, let's go from there.
So we'll start off. Where are you from?
I am from God's country.
He's about to say Georgia.
Not just Georgia. Athens, Georgia.
From Athens, Georgia.
Athens, Georgia.
Home with the dogs.
There, look at that. He already, listen, last night at the married retreat, once we got started, he already ripped on UK Wildcats.
Oh,
so,
yeah, absolutely.
I said he's going to say Georgia, not because I call that God's country, just because I'm expecting it to come out of his mouth.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, and we're here on mission. To the Kentucky Wildcats, trying to convert people.
Thanks, man.
It's a recruiting visit.
There goes half the audience right there.
Half the audience is gone.
They just said, forget it. We'll just wait for the next podcast to come out.
Sorry, y'all.
We're going to get handwritten letters now. That's what's going to happen.
You're going to get emails. Man, what kind of people y'all got on this show?
So from Athens, Georgia. Now you've got connections with some of our staff here, right?
Yes.
Or one in particular.
Started with one.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So
started with one, and now there's a lot more connections now. But yeah, being in Georgia, my wife and I were involved in a church. I was on staff there at this particular church in the Winder area, and there was a young lady who was growing up in that church, and her name was Hannah Ostrander.
Now, I don't know if that name sounds familiar to our listeners at this point. Maybe you know her by another name. Hannah's still in there.
Hannah's still in there. She still carries her maiden name, Hannah Ostrander Bennett.
Bennett, yep.
So, and Hannah was a young lady that my wife and I were able to disciple when she was growing up through middle school ministry, and we've just been a a significant part of her life, and she's been a significant part of ours. Gotcha. And we are very grateful for her and for what God's done in her life. And when she was in college, she was recruited by Camp Nathanael and I guess it was Scripture Memory Mountain Mission.
Yep.
And she was telling us about what was going on, and then she would come up here during the summer and serve, and then that eventually led to her being here on staff and raising support, and and then she meets James, who comes here.
Yeah, James and Hannah both they kind of oversee the horse ministry here.
Overseeing the horse ministry.
So as you pull into campus, you see all the horses out there. That is Hannah and James's. Right, kind of handiwork there. It's where
they're doing a fantastic job with that too. It's pretty amazing. She we're talking about Hannah. She's not even on here. She went to Toccoa Falls was the college.
Falls College.
Okay, and I bring this up just because I thought this was hilarious. I don't know when it was established as far as the college go, but I remember. Jeff McIntyre, because Cameron went there too.
Gotcha.
I remember Jeff having a T-shirt on. It says Toccoa Falls football team undefeated since, and it was whatever year the college was established because they've never had a football team. Like that's genius. Right. That is so genius, man.
Oh man, yeah. So when Hannah was coming on staff here, she had, I believe, had always wanted Lisa and I to come up and see the mission and experience camp. And in 2000, and I want to say this was 2019, was our first time up here on campus.
Oh, wow.
And we were speaking to one of the kids' camps. And then we came back the following year, and that was during COVID that year.
Yeah.
And went from the overnight camp to where it pivoted to be more of a day camp. And kids would come over here during the day and they go home. And then we've been over here. Lisa's done, I think she's spoken to some of the ladies. Hannah did a ladies event. Yeah. Lisa spoke at that one. And then we were here last summer, I think it was May.
You guys did orientation
week with the leaders.
With the summer staff, right.
Summer staff. We did that. And then Rick he invited me to come for the marriage conference this weekend, and this is something that Lisa and I love being able to do. We love working with married couples, and we love working with pre-engaged, premarital couples.
Because that's kind of, I mean, that's the coaching ministry that you got going on right now. We can talk more about that here in just a little bit. But you've even come here for various reasons in the past. I mean, you got a big FCA background, involved in it really, and myself, I was a part of this. Spencer bringing us along with the idea of support raising,
right,
and giving us strategies for that, and get us plugged in with organizations to help in that, which benefited a lot of the full-time staff here greatly in that process. So you got a lot of hats, man, or at least you've had a lot of hats over the years.
There are certain organizations that God brings in your path that you have an opportunity just to be an influence and an encouragement to. And when Josh was here, and I get, is it executive director? What's the mission director? What's the
mission director?
Mission director.
Yeah.
When Josh was here as the mission director, we were talking about that issue of development and how long it was taking full-time staff to get onboarded.
Yep.
And we started talking about that issue, and I said, well, what if you could bring your staff on like in 100 days, if they could get fully funded in 100 days? And that perked up, his ears and his heart. And then we just started talking strategy. I said, well, look, I said, this is what we do with FCA. It's been a game changer for us. This is the organization that we have partnered with FCA, and we leverage that content, because when it comes to the development piece, development is really more of people raising than just support raising. It's more ministry than it is just dollars. Now it takes dollars to do ministry, but it requires that relationship that you have with other people, and then it's something that teaches you to really get clear on what your mission and vision is, what your story is in the mission of what God's calling you to, and then being able to clearly communicate that and ask people and invite people to invest in that ministry. And what we did with FCA, that was a game changer for us. There was a tactical piece to it, but then there was a very relationship driven piece to that system. And I told Josh about it, and I said, here, check these guys out. And it was, the support raising solutions, and then come to find out shortly after Josh and I had that conversation, I think he and Marty went, and I think they went through it. Some other people went through it, and it was very successful for those. And then the next thing I know, it's become a part of this is your plan. If you're coming on staff with us, you're going to be expected to go through this training.
Yeah, it's and like I said, man, it's been incredibly beneficial. I mean, it helped us come along fairly quickly once when we were here on staff. And did you guys do it as well? Okay, you guys did it too. Yep. Okay, yeah. At that time, just from that time on, man, people who have come into the mission, that's been part of the process.
So it's cool. It's cool to know that one conversation, has had that ripple effect on the other people, because I think at that point, what I heard and what I saw happening from a distance is that God really began scaling the ministry here with the number of staff that were coming on.
Oh, it's kind of exploded over the past few years, man, as far as new staff that have been coming in. And you've got your more veteran established staff that have been here for some time, but they're constantly imparting wisdom and passion toward these new ones who are coming in. But for that to come at the time that it did was just you can just see God's sovereignty all over it. So
it's been cool.
So yeah, you got that. Obviously, there's different ways in which you've been able to even impact the ministries here at camp. But let's talk specifically about why he's here this weekend.
For this weekend,
yeah.
So invited in to the married couples retreat. He's actually got a hat on right now for everybody who's listening. It says Cord of Three Coaching.
Yep.
And I know that that's a big part of the ministry that you all have going. And so invited in to come and talk at Married Couples Retreat. So I'll go on and ask, where did that ministry, I'll ask a two-part question here.
Sure.
One, where did the Cord of Three ministry come from? And then two, what have you been talking about this weekend?
Yeah, good question. Good two-part question.
Good open-ended question. It takes us through the rest of the episode, man. Yeah,
absolutely.
Our job's done. You just keep going.
Right. And then you guys just ask questions along the way. If something's not clear. So Cord of Three comes from mine and Lisa's life verse in Ecclesiastes 4:9-12. And then in verse 12, it says that a cord of three strands is not easily broken. And what I had communicated earlier today with the attendees here, when you take a look at that passage of a cord of three strands, it's a cord of three. In the Hebrew, the word is shalesh, which means be threefold. It's a matter of it's a verb in the Hebrew. It's not a noun of like a cord of three strands comes across like in the English comes across as something that's something tangible that you can see, that you can hold, you can touch. Whereas the Hebrew shalesh means to be threefold. In other words, it's something that you are and it's something that you do in your marriage. And for us, that has been our life verse. We'll celebrate our 31st anniversary in August of this year. And that has been something that has been a bedrock truth and foundation in mine and Lisa's marriage. And over the years, we've had opportunities to do premarital coaching with other couples, and it's been something that has been an area where we've grown and we've gotten more mature in, because at the first, I mean, when Lisa and I were married, before we were married, our experience, you know, they say that you're going to coach the way that you were coached.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that we were coached, when we told our pastor, we were actually married by two pastors. Actually, two pastors officiated our wedding. And when we told her pastor, he was like, well, I want to meet with you and give you some premarital coaching, kind of.
Yeah.
I'm like, cool. All right. So let's go. So we met with her pastor. We probably met for about 30 minutes. And then he gave us a set of videotapes. That would have been the old VCR tapes. All right.
VCR.
Do you guys know what VCR is?
Yeah, I know what VCR
Yeah.
Steven, I know that you know. Lee,
yes.
I don't know about you.
What are you saying, man?
I'm
I
saying
know
I'm
that
old.
you know.
I'm 53. You're not.
I'm 44. What are
okay.
you?
See, this is
What are you?
How
what
does
are
this
you?
age question always?
What
seem-
are you?
I am,
Yeah, how old are
I
you,
am
Lee?
33
So you barely-
actually, there's like 10 years between each of us here
between
now.
each of us.
Yes. So you barely know what a VCR is.
I still have a VCR at my
Do you
house.
now?
Oh,
Okay.
my.
That functions.
It functions?
Wow.
Is the clock blinking?
a little bit.
That's part of the function.
That's part of the function. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, my kids think it's a lot of fun to go and watch the VCR, which admittedly
Dude,
at this point now, some of the VCR tapes, the
Do they get stuck?
audio goes up and then back down, and then they've aged a little
Surely
bit.
they don't lose quality over time.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he gave us this these VCR tapes.
Yeah.
And he said, here, go home and watch these, get some popcorn and some Coke and watch them.
How many VCR tapes did he give you?
Man,
You're walking out with like a Blockbuster bag. Lee, do you know what Blockbuster
Yes,
is?
I would. Yes, thank you.
yeah.
I have been to Blockbuster.
Okay,
yes,
good,
thank
good.
you. I've rented movies and all
Wow.
that. Yeah.
All right then. Well,
Oh, man.
see, you're older than we think.
Yeah.
You're older than you let on to
Yeah,
be.
you
All
are.
right.
You are.
You may be 33, but you got a mind of a 50-year-old.
So,
There you go. So thanks a lot. Appreciate that. I am 50. I am in the room, Stephen. I am 53.
Okay. Anyway, we were talking about VCR tapes.
So that was our premarital coaching. We had to watch these video series, and there wasn't really any conversation after that. It was like the conversation was left up to me and Lisa. That's how we first started our marriage, was watching VCR tapes of this premarital coaching stuff. I don't even remember what it was about or who did it. But
It feels like anytime you talk about watching something on VCR, like the quality has to be equivalent to like a late 80s PBS type public service
oh yeah,
type video.
yeah, and it definitely wasn't in HD
No.
or 4K
No.
or anything like that. So that's how we started, and then as we grew and we're in our early 20s when we got married, and you'd have opportunities to talk about marriage, and you'd have opportunities to talk about. We did not know a darn thing about marriage. We were just young and in love, and we just knew that. All right, we're called to do this life together, and we're not going to get a divorce. And we didn't know how hard it was going to be. Had no idea. But now with the experience of having multiple people being able to have been coached by us and developing that, this past fall, Lisa and I launched our coaching business.
I was going to ask you, how long have you been doing this officially?
So officially, we've been doing it since September.
Yeah.
But unofficially, I've been
Oh, yeah.
coaching premarital couples for a while. And now what we do is we really try to do it together, where she and I are in the room or online. So I've got I'll have clients. I mean, I've got a client in Nashville now, and we meet online.
Okay.
So this is something we can do virtually. We can do it, or in person. We like, and when Lisa is available, when she's not teaching, or if she's available at home to be able to meet, then she jumps in and does this with me. But yeah, we officially started it in September, and it's just been an amazing journey thus far. So that's how we got started.
Yeah.
Doing this together. And one of the things that we have been praying specifically for are opportunities to go and speak, whether if it's a marriage conference or if it's speaking to business leaders or nonprofit leaders or individuals. I was just like, Lord, I'm just praying for 4. There's 4 opportunities to go and speak.
Okay.
And shortly thereafter, Rick calls and sends me an email and, hey, we'd like for you to come and speak.
Mm-hmm.
And, so it's already one of those things was like, well, I don't really need to pray about it.
This is what you're doing now,
Yeah. It's like, okay, sure. And then let's talk about some of the details. We got the details taken care of, and here we are. So
nice.
It's been really, really good.
Gotcha.
Very cool.
So we've had a few sessions so far.
Yep.
I know last night y'all had a whole session on communication.
Right.
I didn't know if you wanted to add anything. I guess, what have you been talking about? I know you had communication last night, and I'm trying to remember the subject from this morning. And
so
I'm drawing a blank right now.
You don't remember this morning?
This morning was momentum.
Marriage momentum.
I couldn't remember the word.
And we had one of the attendees that is a physics teacher.
Perfect.
I mean, yeah, I'm like, who better to teach that?
Right.
Than a physics guy. And then I had no idea how energetic he was going to be, but man, Brent steps up and
yeah, man, he's great.
Like, let me just go sit down.
You got this, man.
You got this. Keep it rolling, man. There you go. Because as I shared that story, I failed physics. And when I was in college, I was going to fail physics. That's why I withdrew and then changed my major.
Way to go.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we do when you're in college. You think you're going to be one thing, and then you get hit with this force called a hard class, and then you get redirected.
Yep, there you go.
That's what happened to me. But no, content-wise, and what we've been talking about last night was definitely on communication and communicating to connect. Communicating in such a way that, because as Jesus said, he said, out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. And so when we communicate with our spouse, we're communicating from the heart, we're communicating with heart, and we're communicating to the heart. And the thing is when you take a look at the scripture, whether if it's something that Paul says in Ephesians or Colossians, or if it's something that Peter talks about in First Peter, it always starts with husbands. Mm-hmm. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. It doesn't say, wives, love your husbands as Christ loved the church. It says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. So when we talk about communications, there is the spiritual responsibility of the husband to take the lead when it comes to how we love our spouse and how we treat our wife. I know we talked about the wife being the weaker vessel. Now, Lisa, my wife, talked through that particular passage where in how we are to treat our wives as the weaker vessel. And the picture there is the weaker vessel is a piece of porcelain that has strength, it has value, it has beauty, it has all of these things. And that is what, as husbands, what we've been given by God is we've been given this vessel made out of porcelain, and how do we treat that? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And with our words, we can treat that porcelain with contempt. And when we do that, then we begin to chip away at its beauty, and we begin to really devalue what that piece of porcelain, that vessel, is really worth.
Yeah.
Whereas when we treat our spouse and we communicate with our spouse with grace, which God has, I believe, as husbands, He's given us that responsibility to lead out in grace. When we treat our wives with grace and we speak to them with grace, when we lead out in forgiveness and compassion, and we love them, and we, as Christ loved the church, what we're able to do, and this is the cool part, when you take a look at that passage, it talks about when Jesus, He was able to present the church to Himself as a radiant church that was without blemish and wrinkle. And so when we lay down our lives for our spouses, when we treat them as that weaker vessel, that piece of porcelain, we're basically creating a spouse that is wrinkle free.
There you go, man.
Wrinkle free. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's just a great picture of how we as husbands are called to really live this out in our own marriage, and how the marriage is so connected to the gospel of the crucifixion, the burial, and the resurrection. So in your marriage, we as husbands are to die to ourselves. We're to lay down our life. We're to lay down our lives for our wives, not just physically, but this is a sacrificial relationship that you're entering into. So there's the death, then there's the burial. Okay, that death of self, and you are dying to yourself. But then there's this new life that comes. There's the resurrection. So we see that in the gospel, but our marriage is to be that picture of the gospel every day.
Yep.
And so that's the purpose of our marriage, is to do that very thing. And so it's just we get to live that out as husbands. So it's really, really, really cool to be able to do so.
Very cool. Yeah, you're talking about, and I completely agree with you about, being the weaker vessel, the porcelain, as you were talking about. I'm just glad you didn't say they're like a porcelain doll, because those things creep me out. If someone were to tell me, hey, your wife's like a porcelain doll, I'd be scared to death of her. I would never get near her.
It's like Chucky.
She says that her head turns all the way around.
So good. So good.
I get it, man. Just, I don't know. Those things, they make me all higgledy-piggledy.
There's that word.
There it is. Oh, my goodness. Hey, Spencer, man, thanks so much for hanging out with us, man. Thanks for coming and serving here and being a part of the ministries here at Camp Nathanael. Not just here recently, but as you have been over the years, man, we greatly appreciate it.
Man, it's been an honor. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Lee, what we got coming up, man?
With that, the biggest thing is coming up pretty soon.
It's a camp time.
Summer camp.
Sure.
So if you are listening to this and you have, if you are in the grades of 4th all the way up through senior in high school, camp is coming up soon. And if you've got a little one in 1st through 3rd grade, we also have day camp coming up soon. Day camp. So all of these dates and information is on our website, campnathanael.org. And that's where you can get signed up, get more info. By all means, call the office here if you got any questions that you can't find answers to on there, but we want to get you plugged in. So that's the big stuff coming up right now.
And that's a lot. All right.
There's quite a bit.
There's nothing else going on at camp but camp, and we leave it at that, man. Hey guys, thanks so much for joining us this week. It's been awesome with Spencer and Lee, as always, man. Have a good couple of weeks. We'll see you back here in about 15 days?
15 days.
Roughly.
Some more higgledy-piggledy then.
No, probably not.
No.
All right, guys, have a great week. See you later.
See ya.